we in Ford of England decided to undertake a 20,000-mile safari over Africa's rutted and dusty roads as a further stage in the proving of the all-new Anglia. Many forerunners of this car had already been tested to destruction over a variety of different roads all over the world, and instructions were now issued that would put into effect another phase of this ambitious test program. Engineers spent many weeks in equipping the car for the journey ahead. What would be the effect of 20,000 miles of sledgehammer blows on the suspension? 20,000 miles of running at temperatures up to 100 degrees Fahrenheit. 20,000 miles of thick, red, choking dust. Every pulse, every heartbeat of the car must be recorded. Temperatures in the radiator, in the rear axle, stresses and strains. All the apparatus to determine these facts was installed, turning the car into virtually a mobile laboratory. Only in this way could the information be obtained that would eventually prove whether all that had been planned and proved on the drawing board would in fact be confirmed by the car's behavior under actual operating conditions. Finally, when everything that could possibly be done to ensure that the car would faithfully record the effects of the arduous tests ahead, the all-new Anglia was made ready for its journey by air to Africa. And so it was that one Sunday morning in late August, the car was loaded aboard a specially chartered aircraft bound for Nairobi in Kenya. Accompanying the car was a team of engineers from the Dagenham factory, each one having his own particular skills to cope with whatever emergency might develop. Ahead lay some of the world's toughest road conditions in the Anglia's new proving ground in East Africa, a country whose terrain is typical of many territories throughout the world. The base of operation for the testing was settled on the outskirts of Nairobi, where temporary headquarters were established for the Dagenham engineering team. The first leg of the day's run was over the tarmac road leading out of Nairobi towards Namanga on the Tanganyika border. A road that soon gives way to the rough, dusty, and uneven surface that typifies the long roads connecting East Africa's main towns. These are not the sort of roads you take if you aim to drive for pleasure, but the roads that you have to use if you want to get from place to place, or if you want to test a car to destruction. "20,000 miles of these roads. How long under these conditions is the lifetime of a car? Driving at 50 to 60 miles an hour over these surfaces must sooner or later wreck a car's suspension. Would a shock absorber go, or a spring collapse, or the whole steering geometry go out of alignment? These and many other were the questions for which we were seeking an answer. But to the test drivers, the smoothness of ride in the new Anglia belied the continual pounding to which the car was constantly subjected, and gave them added confidence that the new Anglia was capable of sure handling over anything that Africa had to offer. Soon the end of the first leg of the journey was in sight, with the Namanga River Hotel providing a stopover for some travelers, but for the engineers, a chance to make a check of the temperature readings. By operating the switches of the recording gear, readings were obtained from the car's engine and transmission. Operating at Kenya's 5,000 feet altitude with the outside temperatures at anything up to 100 degrees Fahrenheit, any tendency to overheating was automatically increased. However, the Anglia showed itself to be perfectly adapted to the conditions despite the long, hard drive. The second test circuit of the program was the road towards Mombasa, with the engineers setting a fast pace at the start of the journey. This circuit, in addition to providing a surface to test the toughest of suspension systems, in the dry season also combines a thick layer of dust, a choking, acrid cloud, which can penetrate into a car's interior, producing a major hazard where driving has to be done over this type of road. However, the new Anglia's body, although lighter than its predecessor, provides enormous rigidity, and the excellent sealing of doors and windows gives perfect insulation against the persistent problem of dust entry. Every day's journey had to be planned to make the best use of the daylight available. In deciding the distance away from Nairobi that could be undertaken, it had always to be borne in mind that a return before nightfall was essential, for the open road was no place to be after dark. And with a 20,000-mile schedule to cover in a matter of only a few weeks, the objective was to get as many miles on the clock as could be accomplished each day. Part of the secret of the new Anglia's success is its perfect aerodynamic design. The low hood line and the small frontal area giving a clean entry to the airstream and providing a minimum of drag with consequent increased performance and better fuel economy. The distinctive reverse incline rear window, in addition to providing better interior roominess, also helps to create a perfect airflow over the whole body and allows a completely clear view in all conditions. Certainly, the new Anglia's performance was never in any doubt. The 39 brake horsepower of the engine in combination with the sports car action of the 4-speed gearbox gave the car a zest and verve that made driving even on these roads a pleasure. The sure way in which the car handled, even if not measurable on any of the instruments, certainly gave the engineers great and renewed confidence in the Anglia's road-holding qualities and its exciting performance. Even after such a grueling run, a check for dust entry showed that despite the extremely dry roads, the perfect sealing of the body had prevented any dust from entering either the passenger compartment or the luggage trunk. While a constant recording apparatus carried on the back seat provided a permanent record of temperatures both inside and outside the car. These recordings, taken at some 20 key points of the car's engine, gearbox, and rear axle, made a valuable contribution to the physical checks carried out on the spot. Each day, the tests followed the same pattern, mile upon punishing mile to discover any weakness that might show up. But aside from the sheer durability proving, the normal day's routine was varied so as to carry out some specific tests of the car's behavior. Already, checks of fuel consumption showed that the car's economy was far more thrifty than might be expected from its outstanding performance. One important feature to be tested was the car's hill climbing ability and the effects of altitude on fuel vaporization. The location selected for this specific test was the Ngong Hills, which rise some 3,000 feet above the surrounding Kenya countryside and whose summit is over 8,000 feet above sea level. The nursery slopes provide a gradual ascent from the first stages of the journey, but the loose surfaces demanded plenty of power and correct use of the gearbox. It's a severe test of the capability of any engine and transmission to deliver the torque to the rear wheels on these kinds of gradients and at such altitudes. But the excellent torque output of the Anglia's engine gave a flexibility in each of the 4 gears more normally associated with engines of much larger capacity and enabled a smooth flow of power to be delivered at all speeds. A climb such as this must raise the temperature of a car's engine and gearbox well beyond normal running conditions, and a constant check of temperatures within the car's engine and transmission at varying heights was made to record the effect of heat and altitude on the car's performance. Under these conditions, an engine will normally develop fuel vaporization, making it impossible to start the car until the engine is cooled off. However, thanks to the excellent cooling afforded by the Anglia's generously proportioned radiator, the car proved itself the master of this particular test with an instant response to the starter. If you undertake a 20,000-mile safari, it takes only a little while for driver and car to become veterans of the African roads. And the Anglia's exhilarating performance and limpet-like road holding gave the test drivers a confidence in the new car that was unshakable. The front-mounted engine giving virtually an ideal 50-50 weight distribution, and the suspension system enabled the driver to be in perfect control no matter how the car was handled. The African safari had more than proved its worth. But Africa was only part of the story. 500,000 miles we tested this car. Yes, 500,000 miles over 4 continents, from the heat of Africa to the biting cold of the Arctic, to prove that the new Ford Anglia can stand up to the toughest driving conditions on Earth. To prove that the all-new Anglia's engine and transmission, the new unitized body and the new suspension could perform better than any other light car. This journey of discovery means to motorists the world over that here is a car that has truly proved itself the world's most exciting light car.